Hey everyone, before I get this video started, I just want to quickly say rest in peace to Marshawn Kneeland after the tragic news of his passing at just the age of 24 this morning. I just want to bring some prayers to his family, his friends, and to the Dallas Cowboys. I hope they can recover from this, and just rest in peace to Kneeland, gone way too soon. Welcome back to No Huddle, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Week 10 NFL predictions. After going 10-4 in Week 9, we improved to 86-49. I'm not going to cross the 100 mark this week because we only got 14 games. Who knows, maybe I go undefeated, but it's a very tough week with a lot of confusing matchups. So let's not waste any time, and let's get right into it. Starting with Thursday Night Football, we got the Raiders visiting the Denver Broncos. The Raiders are coming off a heartbreaking overtime loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Meanwhile, the Broncos prevailed on a last-second field goal to defeat the Houston Texans. Division games are always weird, and with it being Thursday night, that adds another element of uncertainty, but I'm still going to take the Denver Broncos, just because I trust that their defense is going to do enough to limit Geno Smith. The Broncos' defense isn't that great at forcing turnovers, but with Geno Smith's tendencies, I think he'll definitely give the secondary one or two chances to pick him off, and I think they'll cash in there. Plus the added pressure with the rickety offensive line, I don't think is going to make Geno's life or Ashton Genty's life very easy. And then Bo Nix, I think his life is going to be made a lot easier. I think he'll only have to play like a game manager for them to win. The key players, it is Brock Bowers for the Raiders, because if you can replicate a receiving performance while also maybe adding an element of blocking to give Geno Smith some more time, then maybe they can unlock like a new level of offense. But if the Broncos' key of their defense, if they just lock down everything, if they force Ashton Genty to like not run very efficiently, and if they can hold Brock Bowers to like not play like prime Gronk, then I think it'll be a foregone conclusion, and I think Denver improves to now 8-2. And now to the first German game. We're back to the international games. We got the Falcons at the Indianapolis Colts. It's kind of a neutral site, but I guess the Colts are the designated home team. The Falcons are coming off a heartbreaking extra point loss to the New England Patriots. Meanwhile, the Colts, they suffered their second loss of the year at the hands of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This has trap game written all over it, with the added element of him being in Germany and with the inconsistency of the Falcons, but I'm still going to take the Colts to bounce back, just because I don't think that their offense is going to sputter 2 weeks in a row. I don't see that happening. And the Falcons defense, while yes, it can be good in shutting down an offense like the Bills, like they're also the same team that allowed 30 to the Panthers, and they allowed Christian McCaffrey to run all over them a couple weeks ago on Sunday night. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to have a better game. I think Daniel Jones is going to have a lot of pressure off of him. And now I'm not sure if Sauce Gardner is going to play, but obviously the addition of him, if he plays, is going to produce like a lot of benefits in terms of covering Drake London. And I just overall don't really trust the Falcons offense to replicate like their passing attack. I don't think Drake London and Michael Penix are going to play all that well, similar to what they did last week. The key players, it is a battle of the running backs, because if Bijan can carry the load, have a game like he did against the Bills, keep that Colts offense off the field, make Michael Penix throw easy throws, then I think the Falcons can have a better chance of winning. But overall, I believe that Jonathan Taylor is going to play like the MVP candidate that I still think that he is. I think he'll have maybe a couple touchdowns. I think he'll get back to 100 yards. Daniel Jones is going to look more like a game manager. And I think that the Colts improve to 8-2 and get a much-needed bounce-back victory. And now we move on to the Sunday slate, and we open with a battle of cheeks. The Browns visit the New York Jets. Both teams are coming off a bye, but the last time we saw the Browns, they got their butt handed to them by the New England Patriots. Meanwhile, the Jets, they got their first win of the season against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, I don't even know who to pick in this one. Like I might get this wrong just because both teams are so bad, but I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns just because I think that their defense is very equipped to stop the Jets offense, who yes scored 39 against the Bengals, but I'm not going to put much stock in that because it is the Cincinnati Bengals. The Browns' defensive line is amazing. Like, that's their one bright spot of the team. Their defensive line is very good, obviously led by Myles Garrett, who's playing like the defensive player of the year. And with Justin Fields, who likes to hold on to the ball for a lot, I think that it's going to be open season on him, and I believe that Myles Garrett is going to have a very good game, and the Browns' defensive line is probably going to get at least 5 sacks. Anything less than that, for me, would be underwhelming. And I just think that their offense is going to do good enough, obviously with the absences of now Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. Not that they're going to score like 25, but I think if they can get to 20, I think that's going to be enough. And Justin Fields, he had a decent game, but I don't think he'll be able to play well enough being under pressure all day long. And I think that the Browns would get their third win of the season. I mean, that's kind of a surprise going into the year. The key players, it is Myles Garrett, because if he just has an off game all of a sudden and the defensive line just gets bottled up for no reason, then maybe Justin Fields can actually play well. And I think for the defensive line to get neutralized, Breece Hall, who's the key player for the Jets, would need to have a very, very huge game. He needs to alleviate the pressure. He needs to average 6 yards per carry, maybe score once or twice, have a few explosive runs, and just make it so the defensive line isn't at Justin Fields' throat every time he drops back. You have to add an element of unpredictableness. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think the Browns are going to easily win. And now we got the Saints visiting the Carolina Panthers. The Saints are coming off a demolition job. Well, they got demolished at the hands of the Los Angeles Rams. Meanwhile, the Panthers, they got their 5th win of the season after upsetting the Green Bay Packers. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think that the Panthers are getting their 6th win of the season. I'm picking them to win just because after the Saints traded Rashid Shaheed, I don't really think they have anyone explosive left on their offense outside of Chris Olave, who hasn't been all that great. And yes, while Bryce Young does still have his government mandated turnover, they're not, as long as it doesn't come at literally the most inopportune time of all time, it's not going to affect the game all that much. And I don't think Bryce Young hasn't been playing all that great, yet they're still finding ways to win games. I think he can play a solid game manager, and the Panthers, honestly, I think there's going to be their second comfortable win of the season. The key players, it is Tyler Shuck, because if he can have that Jackson Dart effect where he just plays like a Pro Bowler all of a sudden and maybe catches the Panthers off guard, then maybe they can win. I don't really know how much I put my faith into that. Meanwhile, for the Panthers, it is Rico Dowdle, because if they just give him the entire load, they let him carry the ball similar to what he did against the Dolphins and the Cowboys and last week against the Packers, then he's been playing a top 10 running back. So if they just keep giving him all that production, all those touches, then I think that Bryce Young is not going to have to do all that much. He's not going to have to throw for 300 yards. I think the Panthers win, and I think this would honestly put them into the playoff race. And now we got the Tom Brady Bowl between the New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Patriots are coming off a big win against the Atlanta Falcons. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay was on a bye, but the last time we saw them, they beat the Saints in comfortable fashion. I really didn't know who I was going to pick. I went back and forth, and I know, I'm not too comfortable with this pick, but I'm going to take Tampa Bay. I think that, I'm not going to say that the Patriots are frauds. I do think they're a very, very good team. I think they'll make it. I think they'll have a decent run in the AFC. But I think this game is going to be a bit of a wake-up call that just shows that they're not, incredibly perfect. I believe that the Tampa Bay defense is going to make Drake May look not bad, but imperfect, I guess. I think they'll force him into very few mistakes. I don't think he's going to be as hyper accurate as he's been the entire year. And I think with Tampa Bay getting slightly more healthy on the offensive side, Baker is not hobbled all the time now. I think he's going to have a very good game. I think he's due for a bounce back game after 2 very underwhelming games. And I don't know, I think with it also being in Tampa Bay, I think that adds an advantage for the Buccaneers. And I just think that they're going to win, keep fighting for the number 1 seed in the NFC. And for the Patriots, again, I don't think this would expose them as a bad team, but I think it would serve as a wake-up call for them to fix some of their flaws and become even better. The key players, it is a quarterback duel, because if Drake May is allowed to be amazingly accurate, amazingly efficient, then there's nothing that Tampa Bay is going to be able to do. Meanwhile, if Baker Mayfield can go back to having those insane scrambling plays and make those insane deep and tight window throws, then I don't think, if it's a shootout, I honestly don't really know who would win. It'd be a coin toss. I just think I trust Baker Mayfield in these situations due to him being a veteran as opposed to Drake May, who's just a 2-year player. But the Patriots could definitely win this game. I'm not saying that the Buccaneers are going to blow them out of the water, but I overall think that Tampa Bay is going to win. And now we got a battle of the purple teams with the Ravens visiting the Minnesota Vikings. The Ravens beat the Dolphins on Thursday night. Meanwhile, the Vikings, they beat the Lions in an NFC North battle. This could be a trap game, I guess, or it's not a foregone conclusion, but I think Baltimore's still going to win. I think Lamar Jackson being back just makes the Ravens offense just so great with his efficiency, with him not making any mistakes. And this just reminds me of the Eagles game with the Vikings, in which Jalen Hurts, who's not as good as Lamar Jackson, was able to carve that defense. And I know Lamar doesn't have the receivers that Jalen Hurts has, but he's better. He's better as a passer, he's better as a runner. I think he's going to torch that defense completely, and I don't really know how much J.J. McCarthy's going to be able to go band for band with him. The key players, it is a quarterback duel because, J.J. McCarthy, for him to go band for band with Lamar Jackson, he's going to have to remember that he has Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Jordan Mason on his team. feed them a bunch of targets. If he has to throw like 40 times, then he has to basically throw for 400 yards. I'm not sure how much that's going to happen. I think Lamar's going to look like his MVP self, and this would give the Ravens their third win in a row, and I think they'd definitely be back in the playoff race after this. For Minnesota, I don't think there'd be any shame in losing to the Ravens, but I mean, just don't let J.J. McCarthy die. Just make him look like a competent quarterback. That's honestly all I'm asking for. And now we got an AFC East game between the Bills and the Dolphins. I was going to call it a battle, but that's not really the case. The Bills are coming off a must-win statement win against the Kansas City Chiefs. Meanwhile, like I mentioned before, the Dolphins, they got crushed by the Ravens 28-6 last Thursday night. Is there a trap element in this game? Of course, because it's a division game, and the Bills, like we know, they can have sloppy performances, but I still think they're going to win. I don't predict blowouts, really, but I do think this is one game that could end pretty ugly. Just because the Bills, like, I know their defense is kind of decimated, but their offense is just still so great with Josh Allen and James Cook. I don't see the Dolphins going band for band with them. Even the Dolphins on their best day, who scored 27 against the Jets and 34 against the Falcons. Even if they score 34, I think the Bills can easily just put up 38 or 40 on them. I don't really see a world where the Dolphins beat them unless, like, Josh Allen goes back to turn the ball over a lot and Tua plays incredibly clean, which the chances of those two things happening simultaneously are slim to none. The key players, for me, it is James Cook, because the one way to limit Josh Allen's turnovers is to just let James Cook carry the load. If he can have a bunch of carries, not let Josh Allen throw like over 30 times. We saw it against the Chiefs that he only threw 26 times and he was very efficient. So if he doesn't have to throw 40 times, he's not going to really have any chances to turn the ball over. So I think that that's going to be key for the Bills to win. And for the Dolphins, it is Tua, because we need to see him not turn the ball over, I guess. Just don't, like, if he has to throw 40 passes, just don't produce one of the most eyesore interceptions of all time. Just please, I beg of you, Tua, don't play like you have CTE. I beg of you. Bills, I think, win. And for the Dolphins, I mean, this season is just I think the fans are just numb to the pain at this point, because their season has been over since like week 7. And now we got the Giants playing against the Bears in Chicago. The Giants are coming off a MetLife loss against the San Francisco 49ers. Meanwhile, the Bears, they prevailed against the Bengals in dramatic fashion last week in Cincinnati. This is a kind of tough game to predict, because I think anything could happen. Both of these teams are very inconsistent. We don't really know who they are. But I'm going to take the Bears just because I think they're going to ride the momentum from beating Cincinnati. Their offense is not going to drop 47, but I think it's going to drop near 30-something, just because even the Giants defense against the 49ers, they had 34 dropped on them. And I don't really know if Jackson Dart's going to be able to make enough plays. Obviously, with the lack of supporting cast, he really has no one around him apart from himself. And I don't really know how much he can do with running the ball himself and throwing the ball with no one to help him. If it turns into a shootout, I think it's going to get ugly quickly, because I think the Bears can score at will much more than the Giants can. The key players, for the Bears, it is their offensive line, because the Giants still have some capable pass rushers. They still have Dexter Lawrence. They still have Kayvon Thibodeau. They still have Abdul Carter. They still have Brian Burns. They're all great, and they can get after the quarterback. So if Caleb Williams gets sacked a bunch of times, similar to what he did last year, then they're not going to be able to score at will. But I think if the Bears can protect him as they have the entire season, then I think they'll be able to fire on all cylinders, the Ben Johnson offense, that is. Meanwhile, for the Giants, it is Jackson Dart, because if he can just produce a magical performance out of his butt and just throw for 250, maybe run for a couple touchdowns, then maybe they can catch the Bears by surprise. But the likelihood of that happening and them winning, it's very slim. So I think Chicago wins, and that will be their 6th win of the year. And now we got the Jaguars visiting the Houston Texans in an AFC South clash. The Jaguars, the last time we saw them, they won in overtime in the last minute against the Raiders. Meanwhile, the Texans, they lost on a last-second field goal to the Denver Broncos. It's a direct contrast between the Raiders and the Broncos this game. These two teams did meet before, and the Jaguars ended up prevailing. This time it is in Houston. I don't really know if Davis Mills or CJ Stroud's playing, but to be completely honest, even if CJ Stroud plays, I'm going to take Jacksonville. Just because the Texans offense is just not good. We already know this. The 3 games that they've produced well, I believe those are the 3 games that they've won. They beat the 49ers, kind of impressive, but then they beat the Ravens and the Titans. I don't put any stock in that. And I know that the Jaguars are very lackluster on offense as well, but I just think they have a higher floor, I guess, just by having Trevor Lawrence, who can still use his legs at some point. Brian Thomas is still a good receiver. ETN is still a good running back. And like for the Texans, even with Stroud, like all their weapons haven't really been that impressive. Like they're coming off a game where they didn't even score a touchdown. I trust the Jacksonville offense to do a lot more. And I think that even though the Texans defense is really good, I don't think they'll be able to provide many short fields similar to what they did last week and come away with any points. Like again, they're coming off a game where they didn't score a single touchdown. Like how am I supposed to predict you to win a game against still a decent Jacksonville defense? I just can't. The key players, it is Trevor Lawrence, because I think the key is not to, like, I'm not asking Trevor Lawrence to play good, but he just can't turn the ball over. If he just plays safe, just doesn't give the Texans any short fields, no fumbles, no stupid decisions, no interceptions, be smart before you get hit, then I think the Jaguars are easily going to be able to win, because the Texans, I don't trust them to drive the length of the field to score a touchdown or even a field goal. Meanwhile, if the Texans, if they can force some turnovers, maybe with Derek Stingley or that defensive line of Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson, again, they have to force like Davis Mills or CJ Stroud to only drive like 30 yards to get a score instead of like 50. If they can do that, then maybe they can win, but I think Jacksonville is going to go for the sweep in this division rivalry. And now we got the Cardinals against the Seahawks in the NFC West clash, if you want to call it that. The Cardinals are coming off a Monday night win against the Dallas Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Seahawks, they prevailed on Sunday night against the Washington Commanders. I know Jacoby Brissett played really well, but I'm still going to take Seattle to win this one. The Cardinals, they're such an inconsistent team. Like, I don't really know how much stock I put into the fact that they just beat the Cowboys. I applaud their defense because they were able to hold the Dallas offense to only 10 points. But, like, I think Seattle's offense is a lot more trustworthy. Now adding Rashid Shaheed, he adds an explosive threat. They still have that one receiver that caught a touchdown on Sunday night. They still have Jackson Smith and Jigba. They still have Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet who can play well at any point. Sam Darnold's playing like an MVP candidate. And their defense is honestly still pretty good with a kind of ferocious pass rush, or a sneaky good pass rush. And I don't know how much I trust the consistency of Jacoby Brissett. I don't know how much I can trust that he's going to have two great games in a row, especially with the one good game being against a defense that literally everybody carbs up for breakfast. I think Seattle's going to have a very comfortable win. I think they're going to complete the division sweep, as we saw these two teams face off in week 4 earlier in the year. And I don't know, I think it could be close, but I think Seattle's definitely going to pull away at some point. The key players, it is a quarterback duel, because if Sam Darnold just plays like he did last week and just literally starts off the first half perfect, the game is going to get completely ugly, similar to how it did last night or last Sunday night. Meanwhile, if Jacoby Brissett, if he plays like he has this year, like plays well against the Packers, he played well against the Colts, he played well against the Cowboys, if he can just give another solid performance and then the defense maybe forces like 1 or 2 mistakes out of Sam, then I think they can win. I just don't really trust the Cardinals anymore. Like, I still think they're one of the weaker teams in the NFC, definitely the weakest team in the NFC West, and I think Seattle is going to push in that NFC West race. Now we got the Lions playing against the Washington Commanders. The Lions are coming off a loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Meanwhile, the Commanders, they also lost at the hands of the Seattle Seahawks, like I mentioned earlier, where their quarterback also died. And speaking of the quarterback dying, that is precisely why I'm picking the Lions in this game. Marcus Mariota is going to make like his, I feel like, 6th start in the season. I feel like he started more than Jaden Daniels. His arm turned into pulled pork. Like, I still don't want to think about that injury. I think the Lions are due for a bounce-back game. That defense is incredibly decimated with injuries and also still incredibly old. That's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion, with Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not sure if Amon-Ra's playing, but even still, even without him, the running game, I think, is just enough to be able to completely gash that Commanders defense. And the Commanders offense, I don't think it's going to do enough, because even J.J. McCarthy didn't play perfect against them, and I think Mariota is going to do a lot less because he doesn't have the weapons that McCarthy did. I think that the Lions defense is going to get pressure on him all day long, and I think the Lions overall redeemed their last year playoff collapse. The key players, weirdly enough, it is a quarterback duel, because if Mariota just pulls out like some decent play, because against Kansas City, the last time he started, he didn't play that bad, to be completely honest, in the first half at least. So if he can just pull that and string it together for 4 quarters, then maybe they'll have a chance. But overall, I just think that Jared Goff, who's the key player for the Lions, I think he'll play decent enough. I don't think he's going to turn the ball over that much compared to the last playoff game. I think he's going to be very accurate. I think he'll rely on the running game more, maybe throw it to Gibbs out of the backfield, trust Laporta, and I think the Lions are going to win this one very comfortably. And now we got an NFC West clash. Now, this is the real showdown. We got the Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams are coming off a blowout win against the Saints. Meanwhile, the 49ers also took care of business in MetLife against the Giants. This is also the No Huddle certified history pick. You saw in the other two games I mentioned, or the last 2 weeks I mentioned it. This is now an official segment. This is why I'm picking the 49ers to win this one. Both teams are so great. Like, I really like the 49ers this season. I love the job that Kyle Shanahan is doing, and I love the Rams as a team. I love their offense. I love Matthew Stafford. I'm taking the 49ers because of history. Kyle Shanahan has Sean McVay's number. I know it's not a perfect record. I'm pretty sure Sean McVay is like 7-11 against Kyle Shanahan. But overall, Shanahan usually has his number. And I think with it being in San Francisco, they already beat the Rams earlier in Los Angeles. They'll have a better home field advantage. Christian McCaffrey is now playing better as a runner. Like, I just think that the 49ers offense is going to outgun the Rams. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I expect this maybe even to go to overtime, similar to the last meeting in Week 5. I just think that the 49ers are going to use that advantage that they have against the Rams and be able to win the game. The key players, it is Kyren Williams for the Rams because I think he's coming off of a couple good games, but we saw against the 49ers back in Week 5, he had some turnovers. He had a key fumble that ended up kind of losing them the game. So if he can keep it safe, not turn the ball over, then I think they'll definitely have a better chance. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, it is Brock Purdy, who's now coming back from an injury. Like, Mac Jones played really, really well. He put that offense in very good positions to score. If Brock Purdy can't replicate what Mac Jones did, one, it would be very embarrassing, but also it would be a very big alarm considering they just paid Brock Purdy. But I think he'll be able to play pretty well. I think if he can play like a game manager, feed Christian McCaffrey, feed Kittle, and feed Kendrick Bourne, then I think they'll be able to drop many points, and I think that they'll be able to win in what I think is going to be an NFC West shootout. And now we got Sunday Night Football between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Los Angeles Chargers. The Steelers are coming off of a very big upset win of the Indianapolis Colts. Meanwhile, the Chargers, they took care of business against the Tennessee Titans. This is kind of a hard game because we know how inconsistent the Steelers can be. They just pull out wins from nowhere. But I still think that the Chargers are going to win this game. I trust their offense more than I do the Steelers' offense. And the Steelers, I feel like some of the games that they win are purely because, one, they either face terrible teams like the Jets or the Browns, or they just force a billion turnovers like they did against the Patriots or against the Colts. I think that the Chargers are going to remain safe with it. I don't think Justin Herbert's going to throw an interception, and I think he'll be able to use his arm and his legs to be able to produce a lot, similar to what like Jordan Love did 2 weeks ago on Sunday night. Weirdly enough, this is the second Steelers Sunday Night Football game in like 3 weeks. Meanwhile, for the Steelers, I don't know how much I trust their offense. Like Aaron Rodgers, he didn't really play all that well. Like the offense didn't do all that well against the Colts. So I think if they're not given a bunch of short fields, I don't really trust their ability to go band for band with Justin Herbert. The key players, I think it is TJ Watt for the Steelers, mostly enough like the defensive line of the Steelers, because the offensive line of the Chargers is complete scotch tape. They lost Joe Alt. They already don't have Rashawn Slater. They just traded for like Trevor Penning, who isn't even that good. Like Justin Herbert's going to be under duress, so if they can sack him like 5 or 6 times, then it's going to be open season, and maybe they can get some short fields. Maybe they can force Herbert into making some mistakes. Meanwhile, if the key unit for the Chargers being their offensive line, if they can maybe like protect Herbert enough, or they can give him opportunities to run and scramble, then I think that the Chargers, they'll be able to just fire on all cylinders with their offense and do whatever they want. I think that's going to happen mostly, and I think that the Chargers are going to win in Los Angeles. And ending the week, we got the Philadelphia Eagles against the Green Bay Packers in the battle for tush-push supremacy. The Eagles are coming off a bye, but the last time we saw them, they prevailed against New York. Meanwhile, the Packers, they fell at the hands of the Carolina Panthers. Both teams, I think, are very good. Both teams have some flaws. But coming off the momentum that each team is like coming off of, I think the Eagles are going to win this one. The Packers, they just lost to the Panthers, and now they lost Tucker Kraft, who I think is a very, very big loss. Tucker Kraft was the ultimate safety blanket for Jordan Love. Like, he was their most consistent pass catcher by far, and now with him gone, I think that alleviates a lot of pressure off of the Philly defense. And while the Packers defense, I think, is still pretty good, like, I think they're not that great of a run defense. And Saquon is coming off a really good game against the Giants, so I think he'll play really well against the Packers as well. And I think Jalen Hurts, he's been very efficient and very explosive lately with his with his pass catchers. I think A.J. Brown is also coming back, so I expect a good game from the Philly offense. And I don't know, I think Philly's riding off of more momentum, now getting Brandon Graham back. They traded for Jalen Phillips. They got Jair Alexander. The Packers obviously just lost Tucker Kraft. I just think that one's trending upward while the other one is trending a little downward. I don't think the Packers are a bad team, but they're just in a bad run of form right now. The key players, it is the duo of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, because the Packers secondary is not all that great. We saw how much Dak Prescott was able to torch them with Pickens, with just George Pickens, honestly, not even without CeeDee Lamb. If A.J. Brown comes back and Devontae Smith is still there, both of them are coming off of really good games the last time they played. If Jalen Hurts can feed them similar to what he did against Minnesota, then I think the Eagles are going to drop 30 at will. Meanwhile, for the Packers, it is up to Matthew Golden. He needs to finally have his breakout game. I trust Romeo Doubs to have a good enough game. I trust Christian Watson to make some catches. I trust Josh Jacobs to play well. If Matthew Golden can fill in the role, at least to a degree, that Tucker Kraft had in terms of catching some explosive plays, getting some key third downs, maybe even blocking at some point, then maybe the Packers can play better offensively. But I just think that Philly's the better team right now, and I think they'll win this very high-profile NFC battle. And that is the end of Week 10, and that is the end of these predictions. I hope I can string together another good week. I went 10-4 last week. Maybe we can improve on that. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and please like. Any support is truly appreciated. And I'll see you guys next week at the end of Week 10.